What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be checking out MSTR and Bitcoin today. Currently sitting at 295.63. We have 3 days left and 15 hours left on the week. Still holding our support here at this key support level at 279 to around 272. We touched it twice, got a nice little bounce off of it, and now we're just stuck in between these two levels of support and resistance. And we'll see if this actually turns out to be a bottoming pattern. It's starting to look like it. We'll see if it can turn out to be that. We'll see, of course, depending on Bitcoin, but we do have this first portion starting to play out. We'll see if it actually turns out like that. But along the way, along the way up, if we do make it up, expect some kind of chop once we get here. If we actually break through it, then we have to look for a floor here to actually make it to the top. Unless Bitcoin gets some kind of insane momentum and starts to rally up insanely quickly, then this could possibly just shoot right through this level. But if it kind of continues its same pattern of just kind of like slowly pushing its way up, then kind of expect that scenario that I said. Of course, if we see weakness, then this could just be a bear flag to the downside. Now on the weekly SMAs, we have the 20 closing in on the 50s soon. Just trying to push down and create that bearish momentum that we've already been seeing, of course, in the daily. Our 50s well underneath our 200, and our 20 has been kind of acting as that main driver as resistance to the downside. Every time we break above it, we end up falling back underneath it, this blue and white line here. Now, when we take a look at global liquidity, we did see a little bit of a cool off period or sideways chopping period, but it is starting to look pretty solid. It's looking like a little inverse head and shoulders could potentially be forming, or I'm sorry, actually a head and shoulders is starting to form. We have a left shoulder, our head, and potentially right shoulder. So we'll see if it cools off or if it just trends sideways and then starts to push up higher. But overall, we still have this nice leg that ended up forming not too long ago. So we'll see if Bitcoin actually starts to push up higher within a certain period of time. I don't know exactly when, but if it is to follow this global liquidity, then we could potentially see some kind of upside. In terms of the RSI, we're just trending downward, holding underneath our yellow moving average, and we're still underneath the midline here at the 50, and we're currently sitting at around 41.92. On the daily, we did finally break back above our yellow moving average, and we're starting to see an inverse head and shoulders, which is a bullish sign. So we'll see if there's any kind of momentum that can start trending to the upside, and then price follows along with that strength that the RSI could potentially be showing. On the weekly MACD, the momentum's pretty bearish. It looks like the bearish momentum's trying to die out, but nothing confirmed yet. We haven't seen a steady flow to the downside just yet. Something like this is what we're looking for, where it's consistently falling down. This last candle was a little bit smaller, but we're still, I would say, going sideways more than anything. And on the daily, it's starting to look a little bit better. This is kind of what we're looking for on the weekly. This is what I was talking about here. This upward push like that. That's what we kind of want to see. And eventually see a green flip, and then see this blue moving average cross the orange and start to see some bullish momentum on the RSI for the daily. When you mirror this move right here from 2021 and we place this over here, you can kind of see that it looks pretty identical. The candles have almost been playing out exactly the same, and this potentially could be foreshadowing what's to come after if we were to follow this exact momentum to the downside. So we'll see if it plays out exactly the same and mirrors this move, but right now it's pretty much on track at this moment to follow that. And this is on a monthly time frame, so this is a pretty important and powerful chart. So don't be surprised if we do see downside, especially if we close on the monthly underneath 230, 232. This thing is going to more than likely see major downside if we fall underneath there. On Bitcoin, we're starting to look pretty good after this fall off. We fell outside of this rising wedge that we had, and we closed back inside now, and it looks like we're finding a little bit of support. We do have this key level of support right here, minor level I would say, along with this upward sloping trend line. So those two in confluence should have enough momentum to push price higher. If we start to fall underneath, of course, start to look for some kind of retest and then more downside to around 109. But right now, if we can maintain this level, then expect at least sideways chop to the upside. That's kind of what the current bias is. Like I said, if we close underneath here on the weekly, then the bias is going to flip to the downside to around 109. That's kind of what we're looking for. For the weekly SMA on Bitcoin, we did close back above the 20-week, and we are right on top of it as we speak. We'll see if we use that as a floor. It should act as confluence with, like I said, the upward sloping trend line and this horizontal level of support. On the daily, we fell back underneath the 50. We'll see if we can reclaim that. We found rejection 2 times prior, and now we're using it as a ceiling. So we'll see if we can hop back above that and start to push to the upside. On the 8-day EMA, we use this for like short-term rallies. We did finally break back above it, and we'll see if we can use it as support as well to continue the move, or if this is just a continuation of this move. But I think we could be seeing something potentially along the lines like this. Maybe we push to the top of this range, maybe to 119 and find some kind of chop or something like that. We'll see. We do have a lot of support underneath us, but that doesn't guarantee anything. MSTR divided by IBIT, absolutely bleeding out, underperforming. There's really not too much to say here. It's just absolutely underperforming very poorly. As expected, in a downturn, you're not expecting MSTR to outperform Bitcoin. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now for this downward sloping trend line. We'll see if we even come back for a retest right now. It looks like the momentum is just going to continue bleeding out, and MSTR will continue to underperform Bitcoin. We'll see if we close underneath this wick here at around 4.5, then start to look for that next target at around about 4.1. You have a clean move to the downside there. We'll see if we find any support along the way. But right now, just based off of this candle here and these previous candles, it looks like this could be a clean move down to the 410 region. So it could happen pretty quickly, which means there could be a severe divergence between MSTR and Bitcoin, more than there already has been. So be on the lookout for that once we get a close underneath 4.5. Bitcoin dominance has been pushing back up, but I think it could just be a continuation of this move that we were already seeing. We pushed up to the 0.5 of 618, which is a magnet for price. That's why price pushed all the way up, tapped it, and then pushed right back down. Now we're slightly sitting on the 236. We'll see if that can continue to be a ceiling instead of the support that it has turned into. It was once a ceiling, now support. We'll see if we can push back down and continue to move down. We do want to see a leg down like we've already seen, but that would mean that altcoin season has kicked up. And to get that, we'd probably need the Federal Reserve to actually start to increase their balance sheet instead of decreasing their balance sheet. So every single time Bitcoin dominance is rising up, the Fed balance sheet is typically being reduced. And as it's being increased, that's when we typically see altcoin season, and that's where you get the hype and FOMO. And that's when you'll see the smaller coins and altcoins start to outperform Bitcoin, which means peak FOMO and irrational decisions are being made. And that's how we get this move to the downside, which doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going up or isn't going up. Bitcoin may go up 100%, right? But then the altcoins are going up 150%. So it'll outperform this, which would coincide with a drop. So that's what we're looking for. And on tether dominance, here on the weekly, we found some rejection at this point here. We were talking about in the last video how we were liking that we saw the lower highs where this peak was sitting at 5.52. The next one was 5.26. and now it looks like the last one was 515. So as they got lower, showing weakness, and the bulls are kind of losing that momentum. And then we ended up falling back to 4.68. And we were over here at 514 at that time that we were talking about it. So it's nice to see. We'll see if we can actually break back underneath here and start playing with this trend line over here, eventually breaking, using it as ceiling and continuing down, hopefully to make a move down to this blue line. That's what we ideally want to see for that peak for Bitcoin. And now if we take a fib here, you can see that that major spike pushed perfectly to the 0.5 of 618, the magnet for a continuation. You can see it's for this leg, we pushed up halfway to 61%, and then now it looks like we're trying to fall back down, which happens time and time again on different charts. Doesn't even matter what you're looking at, whether it's an index or a single stock. It happens on plenty of charts. 0.5 to 618, and it's no different here. Came back for a touch, and now we'll see if it starts to fall off. If we get that fall off, you can expect some kind of a major move on Bitcoin, but we do need to break this support right here. We have a pretty strong level right here at the 466 to around 461 level. If we can fall back to 4.3, that would be ideal, and ideally getting a weekly close underneath 4.13 would be the ultimate setup that we want to see. We haven't had that since pretty much over here early 2025. So if we can see something like that, my bias would really increase to the downside of actually touching this blue line here. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. Make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.